Hey, what's up? My name is Tobin, and I'm recording this in response to an email I got from a student at University of Hartford who's doing a film project called This Is Me. And he asked that we give our coming out stories to the queer youth coming up behind us who at this point right now have seen a huge epidemic of bullying and the nasty results of that. Um, so this is sort of my it gets better. um, So here's my story. I came out as bisexual when I was 16. I was a junior in high school. It was 1996. And it was kind of a time when that was sort of becoming cool or acceptable. Like Ellen was coming out of the closet and she came out on her show, and there was like the first gay character on her show. In fact, my high school graduation, the tape, excuse me, the tape that we did was, I recorded it on the same tape as the coming out episode. So my high school graduation is on the same tape as Ellen coming out on her show. Um, so that being a little bit of the background, I still came out and it was really awkward. I came out as bisexual at first. I think I spent the summer of my junior year being bisexual because I just really wasn't sure um, that I was ready to commit. I mean, I think I knew that I was gay. I've known that I was queer since I was 11. Um, I had this huge crush on another girl in my class, and none of the other girls had crushes on the other girls in our class, so I kind of knew something was up. And I'm really lucky because I have an older sister who is just, she's just a bee. She's just awesome. And she pulled me aside and she was, she's 12, I'm 11. And she said, dude, I think you're gay and I'm cool with that. I think you have a crush on so and so, and I just want you to know, like, I support you. I'm in your corner. I love you no matter what. And, at the time I was like, I hate you, get away from me. Why would you say that? Blah, blah, blah. But I think that stuck with me, because when I finally did start to come out at 16, she was one of the first people I confided in. I came out uh, to my parents as gay probably about the fall of my senior year, so I was about 17. And I remember saying to my mom, like, yeah, so I'm a little gay. I'm pretty gay. And she was like, well, how do you know? And I said, well, I just do. And she said, have you been with any men? And I said, well, no. And she said, have you been with any women? And I said, well, no. She said, why don't you try being with 5 of each and then decide if you're gay? And I looked her flat in the face and I was like, is that how you meant daddy, mom? Because didn't you just always know you were straight? And she chuckled and we took it from there. And my dad, he had a hard time with it. I don't think he really knew how to process it. My brother too. But I'm lucky because I'm one of 2 gay people in a very large family tree. But the other queer happens to be my dad's brother. So my dad spent some time talking to his brother and was able to connect with it. And basically, what he shared with me was that he just knew I was going to have a harder life. Starting at that point. Um, but I knew that if I didn't do what I needed to do, if I didn't come out, if I didn't accept who I was going to have an even harder life. In school, it was okay. Mostly, I got bullied a little bit, mostly just name calling, walking down the corridors and having people go, dyke, it was really hurtful. It was really hard. And I was one of 3 gay people in my class, 3 out ones who graduated, and so there was a little bit of that. I at least had that. But I really suffered with it. I internalized a lot of my shame around it. It was awkward. I was just coming up awkward, and I remember having crushes on girls that weren't gay or didn't get it, or just basically feeling like the odd man out. And I did things like I cut myself, I burned myself, I tried to kill myself, I think twice in high school. Um, and this was amongst what was a pretty supportive crowd. It was just within me, I couldn't accept it. I felt, I felt like I was bad, like a bad person, like a sick person, like a gross person. Um, I grew up in a church that essentially, it was frowned upon. Um, so it was really hard for me to adjust, and I started to meet people who are also queer, but in order to be around them and in order to accept myself around them, I started doing things like drinking and smoking pot and doing all sorts of other drugs eventually. And I was thought that I was becoming okay with myself with these people, but really I ended up pretty heavily involved with alcohol and drugs as sort of a coping for a lot of this. I had this really shame-based internalized homophobia, and it was really rough. And I did some work on that, and it took me a while, but I finally was able to get off of all the drugs and the alcohol and talk with people about it. And that was about 6 years ago that I stopped using as a way of coping with who I am and started to sort of accept and try to address, I guess, who I am. And in this past couple of years, it's been a whole new level of coming out. I came out in October of last year, so 2010. I came out as genderqueer. I came out as trans. I changed my name from a female name to a gender neutral name. I grew up as Amanda. I changed my name to Tobin. Um, and this is the part that's been the hardest leg for me. Because as you can imagine, a lot of my hatred of myself growing up was just, I think about being not just queer, but about specifically being trans. And growing up with the name Amanda, and I always looked like a boy. In high school, I grew my hair out and stuff to sort of fit in, but as a kid, if you look at my pictures, I'm rocking the same haircut, same clothes as my brother. So growing up sort of butch and or genderqueer, tomboy, I guess they call it, with a name like Amanda, I got a lot of "it's a man, duh," and all that stuff. So I did, so I did change my name, and that was really hard. I had a really hard time telling my family about it. I've been coming out a little at a time. I'm really lucky that I do have support, but there are times when dealing with this feels like dealing with the other stuff, and I think about cutting myself, and I think about hurting myself, and I think about killing myself, and I think about taking drugs, and I think about drinking. But I don't, and the reason why I don't and how I get through that is because people like that film student, people put the message out there that it's okay to be me, and what a good age, what a good time of history are we in that these issues are actually being talked about, and even if they are being debated, they're being talked about. um, I didn't hear anything about um, we didn't have people come in and talk about being LGBT when I was in school, and we didn't have, especially didn't have people talking about being trans. The only time I ever saw anything about a trans person was some expose on Jerry Springer, and and it was really, it was shown as grotesque and sort of like a circus act. YouTube has been a really big help to connecting with other people in the trans community, because there are a lot of videos from trans dudes and trans ladies who have shared their story with me. And the thing that gets me through it is just knowing that I'm not the only one and I'm not alone. um, but I have my hard days. So I guess the message that I would put out there to anybody who's coming up after me is that you don't have to go through this in secrecy. You don't have to go through this and suffer. You don't have to go through this alone. Um, you don't have to go through this with shame. There are those among us out there who have gone through this and who have gotten to the other side. I'm still in the middle. I'm still looking for the light, and in a lot of ways, doing projects like this or helping out or making these responses um, are helping me get there. You know, I went to the True Colors conference and I saw all of these kids together and queer and out and with each other and supporting each other, and it was beautiful to see. When I was a sophomore in college, uh, Judy Shepard came and spoke to us. She's the mother of Matthew Shepard, and she said, there are not enough people in the LGBT community alone to make a difference. We need allies, we need each other, and we need straight allies who can help us. And I guess the thing that I say is find that, keep reaching for that, know that it's there. And if for now it's only through YouTube, if it's only through film projects, if it's only through Lady Gaga, just hold on, because it really, really does. And as much as I, make fun of those campaigns, it really, really does get better. And if it doesn't get better right away, it at least gets different. And it gets more tolerable, and it gets easier to accept who you are. And it gets easier to stop comparing yourself to everybody else. And it gets easier to love yourself when you see other people who are queer. I'm really, really lucky because I have like a lot of different trans guys in my life, and I see them and I care about them. And what kind of hit me is that if I can see them and care about them, then maybe I could see me and care about me, regardless of whether I was gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, queer, purple, who the hell cares? Um, so this is sort of rambly, and I'm not entirely sure if it'll be used or if it'll work, but I wanted to put it out there. That's a bit of my story and a bit of my message, so thanks.